Okay, now I know it seems ultimately crazy, but fun fact about me that you guys probably did not know is that I'm actually a Christian. I know it sounds really crazy from all the times I say the word devil's tango, but to this day, I still do go to church and I have my moments, okay? I'm not gonna lie, every time I walk into church, I sometimes feel like I'm the devil entering inside a holy place. But today's story is about how basically I realized that I wasn't the only one doing the devil's tango at a church, and let's just say things got really extreme. But before anything, obviously, I just want to make sure you guys know to leave a like, subscribe, and let's jump straight into this crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but ultimately really odd story. Now, this story all takes place literally a couple years ago. Now, as you guys may know, I've been making content for like 5 years straight, and obviously, ever since my content tended to, you know, grow in following and people start watching more of my videos, other people around me that I know day to day start realizing what my content was really about. Obviously, not fully, but just from looking at the thumbnails, they were pretty weirded out. And growing up, I always went to church, and then one Sunday, when I entered inside my church, I remember there was a kid that ends up running up to me, recognizing me. Now, obviously, at first, I didn't know what to say, because, well, if anyone recognizes me from online and stuff, it gets really awkward, because, well, I don't know, I'm not the same guys I used to be back when I was in high school. But obviously, this kid runs up to me, and he says, "Wait, you're BabaStreams. I know you. Don't you, like, make those crazy story times?" Yeah, hi, nice to meet you. Here, wait, can I take a quick selfie with you? Yeah, sure, let's go for it. So I remember me and this kid, we ended up taking a photo together literally at church. And I remember my parents, they aren't surprised about this because it wasn't the first time seeing this happen. Which, by the way, if you guys ever see me in person, this is what I look like. So don't feel afraid to walk up to me and just ask for a photo or just, you know, anything. Literally, I'm an open book in person. I'm not awkward as well. Like, I'm the same way I act online or through the camera than I am in person. Let's just say that. But going on. But I remember after I took that photo, my parents were watching me. I realized that there was another person watching. There was a girl that was literally like down the hall of the church that was staring me down as if I was, you know, some piece of candy. It seemed really odd, but I didn't really know the girl, so I decided to just totally ignore her and pretend she didn't exist. Until I remember after church service, she ends up actually walking up to me when I exit the main hall, and she says to me, "Hey, I have a question." Yeah, what's good? "Well, like, I've seen you coming to church and stuff, but I never saw someone taking a photo with you. What do you do exactly?" "Oh, I just make videos online telling like crazy stories and stuff." Oh, that's really cool. So you're like a storyteller? I guess you could say that. Oh, I used to watch one back when I was younger. His name was Luna. Now, if you guys don't know, I always hear this a lot. Me and Luna, I actually know Austin, funny enough. Austin, sorry to name drop, but still, I actually know the guy, and he's actually a great YouTuber. I looked up to him growing up, but one thing I will say is that a lot of people compare me and him. To be fair, he's the OG storyteller, so shout out to you, bro. Mad love, as usual. But at the same time, the fact that this girl compared me to a YouTuber that's been doing this for a whole decade, it was pretty cool. So that's when I said to her, yeah, I guess we're kind of the same. I don't really know. "Oh, well, like, what's your channel? Let me see it." And I remember when this girl ends up literally pulling out her phone and searching up my channel, she ends up looking at all the thumbnails and everything. And that's when she looks at me with like this most blank stare ever. Now, this isn't the first time someone's given me that kind of reaction when they first look at my channel, especially like when I tell like people like, you know, in real life what I do, and especially girls, they always have this blank stare after I tell them what my channel is, which, to be fair, once again, I don't blame them. This channel is pretty weird, but still, I try to keep within the guidelines. But after she looks at my channel, this girl walks away, and that's when I thought it would be the total end of me seeing this girl, until I realized it wasn't. Because I remember the next day ends up happening, and I ended up going on my phone and I went on my Instagram, and I saw she actually ended up following me out of nowhere. Now, this wasn't unusual, but right away when I pressed follow back, she actually sent me a message. She sent me a message on my phone saying, "Hey, Bubba, I was just wondering, what are you doing tomorrow?" "Oh, I'm just kind of staying home, just have to film some stuff, and then I'm probably gonna go get something to eat." "Why, what's up? Do you want to like maybe like go catch like a dinner together or something?" To be honest, I'm not really sure," is what I ended up texting her back. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a bad experience with church girls before, but this one for some reason seemed a bit different. But I still declined her offer, and she got kind of annoyed, until this is where the story gets a little weird. Because I remember the next Sunday ends up rolling around. When I walk inside the church, I remember she walks up to me again, and she says to me, "Hey, Bubba, I was just wondering, what are you doing today after church?" "Oh, nothing. Got a lot to do. I got a meeting and stuff, and then, you know, I gotta go home and record." "How many videos do you record a day?" Like 3 to 4. If you guys don't know, I actually do end up recording 3 or 4 videos a day. It's kind of insane to think about, but at the same time, that's kind of what happens when you do this full time. But after I said that, I remember she ends up walking away all angrily, and that's when I realized there was a guy that was staring at me the entire time as well, looking at me as if he wanted to beat me up. No idea who this guy was, never seen him in my life. I knew he was like an important person at the church, but to be fair, I don't know him that well, so I kind of like backed away. But after service is when this girl decides to do something very, very odd, because she ends up walking up to my parents and she starts talking to my parents about how amazing of a guy I was and everything. And my parents just didn't know what to say because, to be fair, I never spoke about this girl. So my parents have no idea who this woman is. But after like 20 minutes of talking with my parents and me not knowing what was going on, I remember as we all go back to the car and my parents start driving me back home, I asked my parents, Mom, Dad, what did that girl talk about? Oh, nothing, Baba. Don't worry about it. She just wanted to know if you were single and, you know, if you're seeing anybody. Oh. Okay, and what'd you tell her? Oh, nothing. I told her where we lived and I told her to stop by for dinner one day. Wait, what? Why would you do that? Baba, you're successful, you're happy, you live by yourself, you might as well find a woman for yourself. Now, ever since I turned 21, my parents always pushed me to, you know, get married and have kids and all that stuff. And now that I'm 23, turning 24, I can see why. It sucks being alone and single. But at the same time, honestly, like, I don't blame my parents for wanting me to find love. And at this time, I kind of understood what they were doing. So I kind of let it slide until I realized what this girl really ended up doing with my address that she knew now. Because I remember literally that same night, I'm laying in bed, I'm about to go to bed, you know, beat my meat, you know, just kind of chill and stuff, right? But then I end up getting a phone call on Instagram. Yes, you can call people on Instagram. Super weird. I don't know why they added it. I think it's awkward, but I end up getting a phone call through Instagram and I answer it. And I'm like, hello, who's this? Hey, Bubba, come outside. Come outside? Yeah, just come outside real quick. I want to talk to you about something. I remember I ended up going outside and I realized she was there parked with her vehicle. And I'm confused on like why in the world she's actually even there in the first place. But I ended up going inside this girl's car to see what's going on. And she starts driving right away when I get in. She starts driving me to a viewpoint and she starts like, you know, basically like opening up to me saying how like, you know, she feels like there's a connection between us and all this stuff. And the only thing I was feeling at the time was how annoyed I was because I was about to go beat my meat and now this girl's pulling me out of the way. But when this girl ended up saying, honestly, like, I don't know, after watching your story times, I feel like there's like some sort of energy you can show me. And I was confused on what that was until this girl ends up taking me to the backseat of her car and we end up doing the devil's tango inside the car at the viewpoint. Now, it wasn't my first time doing it in a car. I'm not gonna lie. Doing the devil's tango in a car is nothing crazy. But honestly, what ends up happening afterwards really blew my mind. Because as we're driving back after doing the devil's tango, she ends up telling me over and over again, oh, like, don't tell your parents. Don't tell anyone at church what happened. Okay, this stays between us. Okay, is what I said. Because obviously, like, I didn't really care to say anything, nor do I want to tell people what just happened until now. Obviously, it's been a couple years, so I think it's totally fine. But what ends up happening is the next Sunday, I remember we end up going inside church service and I haven't heard from this girl since that night. And as we're all sitting down in service, I remember the priest ends up saying an announcement. This announcement was really odd, but I ended up seeing this girl and the guy that was staring at me the other day, super upset, go on stage together. And they were literally engaged. Yes, at this moment, I realized I basically did the devil's tango with an engaged woman with the son of the priest that she was engaged to. Wait, did that sound gay, right? Tommy, did that sound gay? I don't know. I did the woman, you know, I don't know how else to explain it. It's really odd, but honestly, me realizing that this woman was engaged, I remember I ended up looking at her in total shock. Now, I was the one with the blank face, and I looked at her like, wait, what? And she ends up staring at me when she was on that stage, and she literally mouths the words, I'm sorry. Like, why are you sorry to me? You basically already cheated on the person you were seeing and getting engaged with. It literally blew my mind, but funny enough, they are now married, and that was probably one of the last times I ever did a girl at church. But you know, you never know what's gonna happen. My opinion, always figure out the full story of a woman and make sure she's not engaged or married, because getting in that pickle is not a good idea.